Now we are going to discuss limbic system and reticular formation. First, we discuss limbic system. The term limbic system means the entire neuronal circuitry that controls emotional behavior and motivational drives. Anatomically, the limbic system is composed of hypothalamus, limbic lobe, hippocampus, and amygdala or amygdaloid body. This is, we start with hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is the main part of the limbic system that controls emotional behavior, internal conditions of the body, such as temperature, osmolality of the body fluids, and drives to eat and drink and to control body weight. All these functions are collectively called vegetative functions of brain. What are the functions of hypothalamus? Hypothalamus have vegetative and endocrine control. It regulates cardiovascular activity. It regulates body temperature, regulates body water and fluids, and regulates uterine contractility, milk ejection from the breast, and gastrointestinal and feeding regulation. Hypothalamic control of endocrine hormones is through anterior pituitary gland. Here is the limbic lobe. This is the parahippocampal gyrus, and this is the cingulate gyrus above the corpus callosum and subcallosal sulcus. Hippocampus. The word hippocampus is derived from the Greek word hippos, means horse, and campos means sea monster, and refers to the structures that shape resembling a seashore. Hippocampus is a compound mass of gray matter and an important part of limbic system at and the medial aspect of the temporal lobe along the longitudinal axis of the brain. From the medial wall, and it forms the medial wall of inferior horn of lateral ventricle. We know that we have inferior horn, posterior horn body, anterior horn of lateral ventricle, that is cavity in cerebral hemisphere. Hippocampus extends its entire length of the floor of the inferior horn of lateral ventricle. Anterior end is expanded and is called pes hippocampus and terminates posteriorly beneath the splenium of corpus callosum. That is the most posterior part of corpus callosum. And you know that the corpus callosum contains commissural fibers. And alveus is a thin layer of white matter adjacent to hippocampus. Here we can see this is anterior expanded end called the pes hippocampus. Hippocampus is composed of hippocampus, parahippocampal gyrus, entorhinal area, that is area 28, cerebellum, dentate gyrus, and indusium griseum. Here is hippocampus and here is parahippocampal gyrus. Parahippocampal gyrus. Hippocampus is a nuclear mass in the floor of the inferior horn of lateral ventricle, and parahippocampal gyrus is a cortical region. It is a part of cerebral cortex that surrounds the hippocampus. An entorhinal area, that is area 28, is adjacent to the hippocampus. Functions in a network of memory, navigation, and perception of time. We have here the hippocampus, the parahippocampal gyrus, and his entorhinal area or cortex. Subiculum is the most inferior component of the hippocampal formation, and indusium griseum is supracallosal gyrus, a thin layer of gray matter which covers the superior surface of corpus callosum. Here is corpus callosum, and here is a thin layer of gray matter on the superior surface of corpus callosum. This is indusium griseum. Yes. This is the picture showing the parahippocampal gyrus. Here is parahippocampal gyrus, and this is entorhinal area, and this is dentate gyrus. And here we can see this is indusium griseum, the thin layer of gray matter on the superior surface of corpus callosum. Afferent fibers from the hippocampus are going come from entorhinal cortex, prefrontal cortex, anterior cingulate gyrus, and premammillary region and reticular formation. And efferent fibers are going to anterior thalamic nuclei, mammillary bodies, entorhinal cortex, cingulate cortex, prefrontal cortex. Prefrontal cortex is the area cortex that is concerned with the makeup of personality of an individual, and contralateral hippocampus. Functions of hippocampus is in learning, memory, aggression, rage, and hormone regulation. And the clinical lesion in hippocampus leads to temporal lobe epilepsy, rabies, encephalitis, global cerebral ischemia, and Alzheimer's dementia or Alzheimer's disease. What is the role of hippocampus is learning. Effect of bilateral removal of hippocampus results is inability to learn, and theoretical function of hippocampus in learning. Without the hippocampus, consolidation of long-term memories of verbal or symbolic thinking type is poor or does not take place. Amygdala. Amygdala is an almond-shaped structure located just anterior to hippocampus and beneath the uncus. It receives neuronal signals from all portions of limbic cortex. Because of the multiple connections, it is called the window through which the limbic system sees the place in the world. What is the function of amygdala? Primary function is to control strong emotions like fear and hostility. Additionally, it is involved in reward processing, making decisions, and giving our memories an emotional meaning. And lesion of amygdala results in disease called Kluver-Bucky syndrome. In summary, limbic structures and hypothalamus are highly interconnected with each other and with cortex and brainstem. Amygdala orchestrates emotional and drive-related behavior through connections with brainstem, hypothalamus, and spinal cord. Hippocampus is important for laying down new memories. Now, reticular formation. What is reticular formation? It is and where it is located. Reticular formation stretches throughout the axis of CNS, from the cervical region of the spinal cord to the medulla oblongata, pons, midbrain, and diencephalon. It is a polysynaptic network with crossed and uncrossed and ascending and descending fibers involving many neurons that serve both somatic and autonomic functions. In simple words, we can say that reticular formation is a mixture of fibers and nuclei. Fibers, any type, somatic, autonomic, ascending, descending, and nuclei, but these are not anatomically demonstrable. This is a diffuse arrangement of some fibers and nuclei from the cervical region of spinal cord to diencephalon. It means it is in the midbrain, bones, and medulla oblongata. But it's very important for its functions. This is the picture we can draw, but we cannot see as this reticular formation, but we can draw theoretically the reticular formation. Now, on the basis of regional differences in cytoarchitecture and neurotransmitter specificity, the neurons of the reticular formation are organized as nuclei. In the diencephalon, it forms the intralaminar nuclei and the reticular nucleus. In brainstem, it forms the central core of the brainstem, in which cranial nuclei, long ascending and descending crests, and other nuclear masses like olivary nucleus, red nucleus, and substantia nigra are embedded. Here we can draw a picture of reticular formation. The reticular formation can be divided into three longitudinal columns: medial column, and lateral column. Median column consists of intermediate sized neurons. The nuclei of this column are termed as raphe nuclei, and medial column contain large neurons. Hence, this column is also termed as magnum cellular column. Lateral column contains mainly small neurons, and this column is also termed as parvicellular column. The multipolar cells of the reticular formation receives afferent signals from multiple sources and project them onto cerebral cortex. Other output structures such as motor cranial nerve nuclei or via ascending pathway to motoneurons in spinal cord. Here, this we can see these different efferents and afferents of reticular formation. There is a functional division of reticular formation, the physiological division. Physiologically, reticular formation is divided into two systems: ascending reticular activating system and descending reticular activating system. And descending reticular system. Ascending reticular activating system is simply called as reticular activating system. Descending reticular system consists of descending pathways from reticular formation to the autonomic centers in the brain stem and the lateral and anterior horn cells in the spinal cord, and descending fibers from reticular formation constitute one of the most important motor pathways. The fibers from reticular formation to autonomic centers in the brainstem are critical in controlling respiratory and cardiac rhythms and other vital functions. That's why these are called the vital centers in brainstem. Reticular formation functions constitute the most important regulatory mechanisms within the CNS, maintains the normal state of consciousness or wakefulness through its connections with cerebral cortex by way of ascending reticular activating system. So ascending reticular activating system is concerned with our wakefulness and consciousness of wakefulness, and it regulates respiration, heart rate, and blood pressure. And these are called the vital centers: vasomotor, cardiac center, and respiratory center, and other vegetative functions through autonomic reflex centers present within the brainstem. It mediates the airway protective brainstem reflexes like cuff reflex, sneak reflex, and gag reflex, plays a role for coordination of swallowing and other oromotor functions that include salivation, mastication, and vomiting through its connections with hypothalamus and limbic system. Reticular formation also controls muscular activity by directly through reticulospinal projections to lower motor neuron and indirectly by influencing the activities of the cerebellum, red nucleus, substantia nigra, corpus striatum, and cerebral cortex. Thus, it coordinates the complex reflexes such as walking and maintenance of body orientation with respect to gravity, posture, muscle tone, and gait. It also regulates endocrine, visceral, and emotional functions through its connections with hypothalamus and limbic lobe. Damage to reticular formation. Damage to the reticular activating system in the core of brainstem leads to progressive loss of consciousness, followed by stupor, coma, and death. In less severe cases, a damaged reticular formation can cause fatigue, changes in sexual arousal, and disrupted sleep pattern. Thanks. Okay, now we are going to finish our lecture.